on our main page, if you scroll down, I did post the Easter special link. Let me see here. Might be a ways down. I guess a lot of people are posting. So here it is. So it's on Daily Motion, and it's free to watch. And it's from 1992. And so, of course, it was Easter, and, you know, I just figured it would be a good time to watch that. And so, yeah. Anyways, a lot of people posting stuff on the website. And you can see a lot of questions. People are asking, like Axel here. He actually asked about how to animate water. So he's trying to animate a large body of water like an ocean. And so I actually did post something recently today, and it is on how to make water effects for dioramas. Now, of course, if you're going to animate water, it's really super complicated if you're wanting to do it like this, but it doesn't mean that you can't, you know, try something similar or use the techniques in this video for stylizing your own water. And so I forget this woman's name, but if you watch the video, you can see how she uses like silicone caulking as well as a base that is dark blue to emulate, you know, depth, because the deeper that, you know, water is, the more the darker in color it is. So, you know, I think she's using a slightly lighter color, and then he is using a slightly darker color, and they kind of get into it on how to, you know, how to glue it to your surface and what kind of silicones to use and everything. So, you know, I just thought this would be really cool to post. And so if you guys want to watch it, it's a little bit long. It's almost a half hour long. But they really get into just, you know, really cool ideas. And the water turns out to look really great. Now, if you ever watched like Nightmare Before Christmas, you know, they had a witch's brew and being stirred in a you know, a pot. And actually, I guess Sally gives Dr. Finkelstein like a what was it? Frog's wort, I think, where she makes this kind of potion and gives it to him, and he passes out, and she escapes. You know. So this is similar to what they would have done. Actually, is to use something, you know, a technique like this. But they probably use resin, I guess. But you can use, you know, there's definitely a lot of uses for silicone and water effects and things like that. So definitely check it out. Now, it is feedback week, and so normally what we do is we have I created this post on the forums, and so Jason is saying blue hair gel. Yeah, that's another thing you can use. There's so many, you know, different ways to do it. Hair gel. There's plastic wrap. There's silicone. There's poured epoxies. There's like acrylic that you can melt with a torch. You know, I've seen people try. But yeah, it's a really fun thing to try and figure out. So for feedback week, nobody posted anything, and it's actually okay, because this week I figured we would talk about Bruce Bickford, because Bruce passed away. I think it was just here on like Sunday. What would that have been? The 28th was a Sunday. And then on Monday I found out on his official Bruce Bickford page, one of his helpers, I think his name is Nick, if I got that right, posted a you know, a sad post that he had passed away. And so the news picked up on it, and you can see Bruce here with some of his creations. And so I had some questions about this, and one of my friends who I worked for, Webster Colcord, I asked him, you know, like if there's anything I can do, because Webster was actually with Bruce recently, and I don't know if he was still around up till Sunday or not. But so they've been working on stuff together, and I think that Webster may eventually release some videos that have never been seen before of Bruce. So, you know, although he's passed, there's going to be more things that come out and things to look forward to. So there is a silver lining in all of this. So if you don't know Bruce Bickford, so I can tell you my experience with him. And so way back in the 90s when I was out in Portland, so Webster Colcord hired me for some Warner Brothers shots, and I guess most of you guys probably know the whole story, and I've probably shown this picture 100 times on the show, but my working relationship with Bruce was brief, and I spent maybe I think a day or two with Bruce on like maybe one or two occasions, and so when we went to his place, he was in Seattle, Washington, just outside Seattle, I think. And so we went there, and we got some miniature cars. So Bruce had this collection of cars that some of them would morph, and someone gets smaller and larger in his animation, and so there were just like tons of these cars everywhere. And Webster decided that on the Warner Brothers commercial we were doing, they had this kind of a drive-in movie theater, which is reminiscent of like the 1950s. So what we did is we had these cars that were also reminiscent of that time period, and so I was lucky enough to actually animate one of his creations. Really super simple shot, which I was a novice animator then, and I wasn't too smart with and experienced with how I was going to do things. And the shot was used, but I think it was too short, and when I animated it, Webster extended the length of time that the shot lasted digitally, just to have this like projector project the Warner Brother logo onto like a green screen that we had for the movie screen, right, miniature one. So anyway. So Bruce also let me use some of his photos for my book, which I wrote at some point, I guess back in 2001 or 2, somewhere around there. And so some of the pictures that you see here were the ones that he actually had sent to me and I had scanned. And I can't remember if these were transparencies or if these were actual photos that I took scanned, but his work, here's a blurry picture. Actually, I think, what? I take that back. I think some of these were photos that I took with my camera, which was broken. So some of these photos didn't quite work out. Yeah, that's right. I had a Ren and Stimpy shirt. Oh, you had that one too, Ron? I think that was like every teenager, after a certain point had those shirts, and fans of Ren and Stimpy. But here you can see, this is the garage of Bruce Bickford, and he just had like a ton of these cardboard boxes. And if you guys recall, maybe about, I don't know how many months it's been, but we during the live show, I had showed you guys how to build these boxes out of cardboard. And so Bruce has a personality where he believes in efficiency and recycling and making a small like footprint on the earth. Actually, here's some cars down here you can see in the sort of 50s style. Speaking of cars, so he had this kind of mentality, and if you ever watched Monster Road, which is a documentary about him, you would find that he was very resourceful, and he would use the boxes in order to save on trash being thrown away. And it's an excellent storage system. It's cheap, and you can see that what he would do is like layer up. He would sort of glue in these little shelves inside there, and then when he would make stuff in clay, he could just slide it right in there. So the whole entire place, per square foot, would have something like 100 sculptures in some cases. Or more. I mean, sometimes he would make stuff so small that it was, nearly microscopic, some of the characters, because he would want to have, like, armies fighting and things like that. Hey, Amy, welcome to the show. So when we took these pictures, this resembles, he's been working nonstop on clay work as well as stop motion, not stop motion, cell animation. See if I can, this picture here. For so many years that I'm sure his garage is just overloaded, since it's been so long since I've been to his house. He was also kind of quirky. He was low tech. He was not really a fan of technology. The people that came into his life after I was there introduced him a lot more to computers and things of that nature, and of course phones and whatnot. And they were able to help document a lot of what he did. And he also was able to, I think he ended up animating digitally on his very last project, with the DSLR camera and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, he would animate using film, and he had these really cool systems of, when he would animate something, sometimes he would take an entire set and he would put it into place and slide it into a notch, on his surface, the table surface, and then he would, slide it out, work on it, do the animation, and then slide it back into place, and then take a picture. Like, he had all these cool techniques that are unique to what Bruce had to do specifically, because everything he made was so small. Now, such a minute. Like, here's a really small scale set. You can see that these characters are maybe like an inch tall. And Amy says, I used to do stop motion, and I'm thinking about going back into it. That's cool. Well, if you've done it before, then and you liked it, why not, right? So here's some of Bruce's cell animation work. And he had this really unique drawing style as well. And many people think he's very like a psychedelic artist. So here's technology in clay, ironically, with old phones and maybe recording equipment like a tape deck and all kinds of stuff. Oh, very cool. So I didn't realize you could do it on a Kindle Fire. That's neat. So I guess you downloaded an app for that. That's cool. I'd like to ask you about that later, perhaps. So Bruce had this unique style, as you can see. These are really small buildings, super small. And so Bruce always tried to break into the mainstream. He always wanted to get some kind of recognition for all the work he put into, making his films. And it was tough for him. Bruce was pretty well off financially his whole life. His father, if I recall, he was in like an engineer for the military, and super smart guy, made lots of money, I guess. And so Bruce was able to make all of this stuff freely whenever he wanted to, just because he could. Oh, let's see here. So Amy's asking, should I post my videos on YouTube? Sure, why not? So here's a very small small puppet, if you want to call it that Bruce made. And I believe that the kind of clay he used back then was called leisure clay. And so his the company that he created, which is pretty much himself and just a couple of other people that helped him on a daily basis with what he, with his needs. If I understand right, I asked Webster. I said, should I ask, my community if they can help in any way? Is there some way we can preserve his work? Because it's just so extensive and there's so much of it. And it would be really sad for his work to be just thrown in the garbage or something like that. And so Webster was telling me that the people that are helping him or helped him take care of himself and whatnot, they are very tech savvy, he was saying, and also he is going to be Shakespearean London. You're probably right, Jason. It probably is. So the people that were helping him, let me see here. So we've got. So I'm pretty sure it's called. Okay, it's animator at Leisure Class Productions. I thought it was Leisure Clay, so I'm actually wrong there. But Leisure Class Productions will be, sort of preserving his work, securing his legacy, so to speak. And maybe what we could do is we could sort of look at some more photos and things that are... Trying to think which would be the best place to look at photos. Maybe on this one. Okay. So I think that this particular photo is one of the last taken of Bruce. And, okay, so this is the initial Facebook post that was posted. And it says, "Hello, fans of animation. I regret to inform you we have lost a true legend today. Bruce Bickford passed away late Sunday night to severe health complications." Well, yeah, Amy, if you would like to post your videos, we review. I don't know if you're new to our show, but we always review people's work during our shows. And if you have anything you want us to sort of critique, or you want any kind of tips or anything, just feel free to post it. Perhaps later, Amy. Let's finish up talking about Bruce, and then maybe we'll get to that if it's okay. So it says also finally says, "Know that you, his fans, meant the world to him and thrived in your thrived in your company. More info and updates will be released shortly. Thank you for your never-ending support." And so, believe it or not, Bruce had worldwide support. There were a lot of people in different countries who found his work, and of course, seeing how unique it is, were interested in Bruce himself. And so, like I say, he had helpers who would help promote him digitally on Facebook and post things about him, and also flew him around the world as well, to different places. So some of this stuff here, I'm not really sure what this looks like. So this is in German. So he had made an appearance in Germany. Okay, so it's also in English. So it says, "Bruce Bickford is virtually unknown, even though stop-motion enthusiasts and Frank Zappa fans regard him as a legend. His career peaked in the 1970s when he and Frank Zappa worked on movies like Baby Snakes. And soon after, Bickford fell off the radar, but never stopped creating unbelievably sophisticated clay and line animation. He lives in Seattle, where he is working on films and a graphic novel." So I don't know about the graphic novel. Perhaps that's something that will actually come out, or maybe it has, but I've not heard of it. And it says the Stadthaus is presenting Bickford's work in a detailed solo exhibit with drawings, clay models, films, paper scripts, or paper sculptures, and previously unpublished material from a career spanning 50 years. And here you can see, actually maybe this, yes, okay, so I'm not really sure if this is a good example, but here's where Bruce used to work and do his animation, and you can see this entire set here is on a rectangular piece of wood. And so, like what I was saying before, is he used to take this whole entire section and like slide it out to the side so he could get his hands where they needed to be to animate, and then slide it back inside there. Really ingenious. And if I recall, his father was the one who designed the camera rig, which he still used, or uses, used, past tense I should say, all the way up until the end when he was working with Webster. So I got to see some videos of that in action more recently. So Ron says, "I can only hope to be like Bruce before my end, the eccentric artist devoted to my craft long after the pop world abandoned it." Yeah. It's amazing what he did, and he had so little recognition outside of, like our site and maybe stopmotionanimation.com. I'm sure there are people who talked about him there. Where else? Just like small circles. in a way it's sad, but it also exemplifies, and what clay animators usually, how they're seen, by others. So we are a small group for sure, and I guess these are the only photos they have here. So let's go to. So by the way, if you guys would like, on Facebook, this is at Leisure Class Films. And I'm not really sure. I think class might represent his like workshops and things of that nature. So maybe the Leisure Clay Productions still holds, but this is like a separate, similarly sounding named page just for that. So here you can see some of his tools, and it's kind of interesting how large the tools appear, in comparison to the characters he sculpts. So definitely he's got a set of smaller tools that he uses, I would think. Now, when I did visit him, I don't recall ever seeing him work on stuff. I just remembered being in awe of how small he could sculpt. And as you can see, he's got these. Where was that? Here it is. He's got these glasses which hold these. Almost looks like the ends of what you put on a microscope or something, but. Or maybe that's for like a dentist. Like dentists might wear something like this to really get in close on stuff. But that's what he used to use, to get in there, and it's kind of interesting, really. So let's see if I can find some more photos here of Bruce. So you can see Bruce wearing his very eccentric clothing here, very eccentric kind of guy. I don't know if he was making any kind of a statement with what he wore or anything like that, if there was any like thinking behind his attire. But knowing Bruce, there probably was at least some part of him that was making a statement. I almost guarantee it. Yeah, Ron, it's really weird how it seems like just in the span of a year, there's a lot of people that have been passing away in stop motion, and it really shows you how valuable your time is. You gotta make the best of things if you can. And here's Bruce. Now, I guess he's probably not sure where this is. I can probably find out. But here are some of the things that Bruce would make. So these would be his business cards. So he would sculpt these characters, which were super, super small, and he would take this poster board and take an X-Acto knife and cut out the center. And so he would hollow it out, and then he would add the characters inside with his clay, and then he would take like a piece of plastic film and put it over the hole, and then make a cardboard frame over that and glue it so it's like a picture frame. And then he would sign it, and that would be Bruce's his calling card. And so I've got one of these myself, and he put his phone number on the back and everything from the time, and so that's something that he was very well known for. Yeah, we do. Those of us that are still around do live on, that's true. And definitely, Amy, I would like to believe that, and I hope that's that if there is an afterlife, that there's a nice place for Bruce for sure. So here he is. I'm not again. I don't really know where this is. People are posting photos of him from their travels and meeting him and so forth. And since Bruce, moved around a lot for workshops and talks and things like that. There's no telling where this is, but this looks like it's probably in Seattle. Let's see. So the Santaville show, and looks like back in 2017. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's Seattle. That looks like it would be that kind of a place. Gives off that kind of Seattle vibe. And here's Bruce meeting with more fans at the Zappanelli Festival. So Bruce, if I understand correctly, also he was wanting to be part of, I think, like a Frank Zappa documentary that was being created recently, and I don't think they acknowledged that they could use any of his talents and things like that. So again, Bruce was always trying to get work doing things, and his style just doesn't really fit in the mainstream like a Pixar film. You know what I mean? Uh, and so, although people appreciated him, they never really thought of a way to market his work, which is really sad. Here's a really cool exhibit. It says this is at the Flat Color Gallery in Seattle, Washington. That's awesome. So you can see people were able to at least see his work. Some of these I've actually seen myself. I recall seeing this one here. Let's see. So here's a great example of what Bruce used to do with. So if you guys have been into clay animation for a while, you've probably seen some Will Vinton animations out there. And Will Vinton would be the more popular version of like morphing and things like that, because like Barry Bruce and those guys used to do that a real lot. But here you can see what Bruce did. He made all these replacement bodies that start from really small to maybe 6 inches tall or so, and he would have replaced each one of these one by one in front of the camera so that the character slowly gets larger and larger. And a lot. Just think of how long it would take to do that. Forever, right? So I mean, just what he did. If you could imagine, spending a lifetime of making these awesomely intricate sculptures. And here's one that he created. Looks like somewhere in Japan, and there's like trees and traditional buildings and so forth. And Bruce was such a smart guy. Like, he could probably tell you all kinds of stuff about the architecture and the layout of the land. Like, he was very meticulous in all his work. And there's one of Bruce. Again, probably out there and giving a talk or something about animation. And so this looks like a layout for what he made in clay, almost right here, what we just saw. So yeah, I mean, his art style was so unique. And you can see, he really got to touch a lot of people's lives. And here's Bryan Prosser. Bryan was one of the people that used to help take care of Bruce for quite some time. And Bryan was, of course, pretty sad for about his passing. He actually sent me a message, and I think he said that Bruce had a dream about Bryan and gave him a call like just a week ago or so. And so they were still in touch and everything, and hopefully if they had any issues, they made amends. But I thought it was an interesting story. Let's see, and then here is Bruce with with the Colonel from KFC. And darn, I can't remember the story behind this, but he was into fast food characters for a while, and I don't remember exactly. I think it was in Monster Road. He talked more about this, and this is when he was much younger. And so Ron says, my son just moved away from home, so my emotions are caught up in that. That time has passed. My film, In the Fall of Gravity, did capture a great number of fans who write to me. All these feelings are very intense. Yeah. I can understand that. Yeah, so your son moved out, huh? Maybe he's going to college now, or... So here is Clyde Peterson. And so I'm not really sure. This person has a production company called Do It for the Girls Productions, perhaps. And I think Bruce is demonstrating some sort of... Maybe he's... I don't know if he's sculpting or drawing. I can't really tell. But sharing his talents. One second. So here's a newspaper article about him as well. So Bruce was getting out there, and he was gaining a following as well, thanks to the people around him who don't really seem to take much credit for all of this these postings. And so there were people behind the scenes helping him out, like I said before, which is great. And so according to my, like I said, my friend Webster said that much of this should be preserved, so all won't be lost. Let's see here. So here is another from Bryan Prosser. This is probably one of Bryan's paintings. Yeah, it is. So this isn't Bruce's work, but maybe there was some inspiration there behind his painting. And here's another with Bryan as well from 2014. So it's not too long ago, really. But it's amazing. You can look at all this stuff here from 2014, and let's see here. Yeah, the garage is the same garage, and you can see that there's different sculptures. So much of this is probably newer than when I was there, and hopefully Bruce never threw anything away, which I kind of doubt he did. He wasn't the type of person to throw stuff away. But yeah, there's just so much work. So anyways, I don't know what you guys want to have anything to say about it. I mean, it's been crazy year, hasn't it? It's been pretty crazy. So many people passing. Will Vinton and some. Let's see here. So they have albums. Is there anything different in here? We'll check. I think there are. Check out the featured photos. So it looks like this is when Bruce went to Japan, perhaps. And again, the clothing is somewhat eccentric. So, like I said, I think Bruce probably, was trying to wear clothing for a reason, certain clothing. There we go, Japan. There's a great picture there of him drawing some characters. Okay, I think we've seen that one. So, I think we saw this picture. This is pretty cool. Quite a number of photos in here. These are great. Let's see. I'm going to load these up. So this is, if you guys look at the shirt on these characters, the shirts, they got eyeballs on them everywhere. I wouldn't be surprised if these were somehow animated, like Stratacut. So very trippy, psychedelic again. And here's a really good one of all the characters that were morphed. And I know this guy has a name. It's actually I think this is Bruce Bickford himself when he was younger, if I recall. Pretty sure that's what this character is. But But there are different characters in the stories that are part of his films. And these are little heads, and it looks like mouths and things. And I'm not really sure how these here were used. All I can think is that when he made these, he would cut the head off and put it on a body or something. Or these might even be like in progress. I'm not sure. Or they could have grown like blades of grass or something like that out of the ground. There's no telling really. So again, here's more of the cards that he would create. There's one here that looks really interesting. It looks like a guy has a superhero outfit with little horns or something on there. I'd love to see that up close, but... And this looks like a zoetrope of some sort that we've got different drawings on, some animation. Probably something lewd. I don't really know. Lewd or gory. Who knows, they might just be dancing. And it looks like... Oh, this is actually in clay. So he's created the painting in clay. The what is it called? The screaming guy, or it's a really famous painting. So here's one. Now, one thing about Bruce Bickford is he never really used armatures very often. So a lot of people had to convince him to use wire and stuff. And I think in this case he didn't really have much of a choice. Many years back, I believe I sent him an armature. I don't think he ever animated it, but people did try to get him to go in that direction because his heavier clay characters couldn't really hold themselves up super well, so he used to use like toothpicks and things like that just temporarily. And here's some houses. The Scream, that's what it's called, yes. And so Ron says this is the end of the era of people who work with their hands and the beginning of the era of technology that means nothing trying to replace it. Bruce hated the technology. Bruce was wise. Yeah, you can definitely lose a lot through technology. The human soul is transferred almost to the characters when they're animated. There's a kind of, almost like a soul, a sentience or something that can be, sensed when you watch something come to life from a human's hands. It's a really weird thing. And it's all part of the charm of stop motion. And if you ever watch, like, The Wrong Trousers... this can be true for almost any stop motion film, but in The Wrong Trousers, there's a lot of scenes in there where you can animate something to such a degree that it really appears to be thinking. And yeah, you can do that with CG and everything else, but it doesn't have the same quality that you get from stop motion. It just feels like there's a life in there somehow. So I'm not really sure what this is here. It looks like a factory, and that looks like pancake batter or something. So here's an entire town that Bruce made. Isn't that crazy? Hey, Animatasts. Yeah, we're talking about Bruce Bickford. So Bruce passed away on Sunday, and this is all stuff that he was, he created and shared with people. And so Bruce was unique, and all his stuff was so tiny. And I guess that the tools that we looked at before that he was using, particularly those flat spatulas, the metal ones, I think that would have been used for the most part to make something like this, to smooth that clay out, make it nice and flat. I don't know if Bruce had a pasta roller for these. I mean, that's what I would try to do, but he may have actually done it with his hands. Let's see here, and that's a tree. Yeah, I mean, most people that watch stop motion, and this actually this is debatable because the last film that came out of Leica, The Missing Link, I guess it was called. A lot of people are kind of not happy with that because it does lose that handmade look once it gets too far into like perfection and a very clean style, to where you can't tell if it's clay or you can't tell if it's a silicone puppet. It loses a lot, and I think the box office numbers reflect that. And so I'm hoping that Leica will eventually learn that making things too clean is not always the best way to go. And Art Animation, definitely, they have it. They've done things right in that place with regards to that. I think they could learn from that. But so here's another. Looks like a female head and torso. And he actually called this wrapped in plastic. That's interesting. And then here, he's got the KFC kernel in here. So these are some of his older sculpts. And again, you can see the 1950s and 60s style vehicles in the back. That's possible. That's possible, Randy. Yep. And Jason says, I agree that technology has squeezed out most of the space that artists used to occupy. Yeah. I mean, personally, I think even with Disney, what are they making now? The Lion King? Oops. The Lion King is all in CGI, and they're remaking it, so it looks kind of realistic. First off, I have big issues with that, not just being CGI, but they stole the entire story from a Japanese comic book blatantly, and never gave them credit. But even if that wasn't the case, I don't see why they had to remake something that was hand done. And it's kind of like saying, well, the handmade film doesn't really matter, and those artists were not as good as they are now, so we're just gonna redo it. So in a way, I don't know if you want to say it's insulting, but they should think of something new, I think. So I think Bruce here is at one of these. Doesn't say. So let's see here. So Anamitas says, when it comes to Bruce Bickford, the first thing I thought when he passed is, all that matters he has created transforming. Also, he would transform like energy. Oh, like energy gets recycled. That's one of the things, Ashley, that he would talk about a lot. If you ever watched Monster Road, that is one of the themes of the actual documentary. And Anamitas says it's a never-ending cycle with Bruce's animation. Everything seems to be infinite. And Amy says, I got Thomas Ertles. Maybe I could do stop motion with those. I'm not familiar with that, Amy. Thomas Ertles. Is that like a brand of clay, perhaps? Well, I think he's just kidding around, Ron. I mean, but let's see here. So this is interesting. He's got some sort of sleds or something here. I'm not sure what these were. And they look like they're made from wood, which is different than the material he usually uses. But Bruce was not really known for working in wood. So here is a set. Looks like a diner, perhaps. And it says famous cherry pie and damn fine coffee. Oh, okay. You know what? I think I've seen this animated. Wow, this is a super old set, if I recall. But I got like the ice cream like sundae making machines and counter and tables. Wow. There's an interesting shot. So would you guys give her a tip if she waited on you with that attitude? I don't know if I would. Oh, old Thomas toys. Okay. You know what? You could. In fact, Amy, a lot of people use toys as things to animate for, some of their first stuff. Some of the first things I animated were toys as well. So, yeah, you'd be in good company if you did that for sure. And Anamata says, that's weird he talked about that, but you can see it in his animation. It's about transformation. Yeah, that's a really great, insightful thought you got there. That's for sure. And Jason says, hey, Randy, I showed you large orange drink vid to my grade 5 class, and they loved it. They wanted to watch it again and again. Of course they did. That's like the funniest video out there. Oh, this is a great shot. So you can see, it looks like what Bruce did here was use a receipt from when he ate out a long time ago or something, and cut it out and used it as a signboard. That's funny. I'm probably wrong, but it does look like there's like a stationary postcard slash, or maybe we're service order. Or maybe that's actually what it is. One of those little service orders that the waitress would, put the order on. That's interesting. But yeah, look at the detail, like the pies in there. They got this. He's got the silverware, and look how small the silverware is. It's probably like 10 millimeters long or something. That's so small. Here's Bruce in a large church. Don't know where that is. Again, with the clothing, not really sure what sort of statements he's making, but very interesting, right? There's like a story behind it. And I'm sure there's videos out there of Bruce when he gave these talks. And if not, if it hasn't been released, maybe somebody will do a compilation video of some sort. That would be nice. So it's really cool, at least he got, even though he was somewhat of a hermit, he got appreciated and did get out and talk to people. And oh, here's the Zoetrope. So I guess that, I'm not really sure what they have this on. I don't know if that's like a motor inside this box or what, but that's pretty awesome. So Randy says, I was just looking at that puppet and his little car. They are covered in dust. No need to clean them up, and I'm thinking of sending them to the daughter of the man who sculpted it. And Anamata says, the amazing Mr. Bickford. It's like the title promises it is. Yep, he is amazing. And Ron says, the work of Bruce and people like Ray make people say the word wow so frequently. Digital stuff is just more. Totally agree. Totally agree with you there, Ron. I didn't go see the latest like Marvel, what is it that what came out? I can't even remember now. My sister went to see it. It's like one of the comic book movies. So the last one I saw was Aquaman, and yeah, I was not impressed. It was so overly saturated with computer images and scenes that were just thrown at you so fast that really you could have taken half of it out and it would have been just fine. A lot of stuff didn't advance the story, and that's not really a good way to make a film, in my opinion. But, that's just my opinion. I think it did well in the box office. So here's some leaves with faces. It looks like these are real leaves that Bruce cut out with a knife. Those are pretty creepy. There is a certain creepy factor to this. Like, if you can imagine you're walking through the woods at night, and the sky, or let's say it's at dusk, and the sky is just light enough to where it's emitting light through these leaves, and they've got all these faces. Could you imagine how scary that would be? You would think you were going crazy. And Anavatar says, the amazing Mr. Bickford, it's like watching a microscope and discovering worlds within worlds. It is, and his was a world of ideas and thoughts. And in one interview that I watched not too long ago, he made mention of the theme of the little guy overcoming, bad people, and that's been a constant theme of his ever since the beginning. Some of his first films were where, one guy kind of beats up and destroys all the bullies. And so this here, I don't know how he made this. I've never seen this before. It looks almost like he started to use wood, but this might be cardboard, it might be sticks. I don't know what this is, although it's really neat. It's funny that he drew the same way he sculpted the lettering. Like, his drawing style is actually in there. I mean, it's kind of cool. So that's Castle Disco, it says. That's awesome. Yeah. So anyways, let's see what else they have here. I think so we got some more drawings. So this is a sketch, Bruce Bickford clay animation film Castle. So I'm gathering that this might have been like one of the title images of some sort. Maybe he kind of filmed it at the bottom and then panned up, like slid this in front of the camera so that Bruce Bickford presents Castle, a leisure class production, DVD. Oh, that's the DVD cover, I guess. I don't have that DVD. Now I gotta look for that. Gotta see if I can get one. But we've got all these miniature castles down here. Leisure class productions. Okay. So again, we've got more replacements. Some very creepy guy here that starts out really small, gets gradually bigger and bigger and bigger, and then kind of moves around. Now this is kind of reminiscent of Stratacut almost. This is sort of instead of making a log and cutting it, it's just sculpted that way. And again, I know this guy has a name for this character, I'm pretty sure. And oh, that's true. Aquaman was more than, I think, 166% green screen. Even their faces were CGI'd over to be younger. If some of the actors in there are much older than they, appear in some of the scenes. think they call it digital makeup. They sort of like have a mesh, a framework in CGI that they stick on there like a face app of, like for your phone. What do you call it? I can't remember. My wife uses it all the time. So yeah, I mean he's got pictures. It's too bad his garage wasn't as tidy as these galleries. This might be in Germany or something. I'm not sure where he's at, but I have a feeling that's not in America because it looks like it's a really old church. Yeah, in fact, the name of the shop looks like it's a German name. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean Germany is known for architecture like this and castles, so I guess that would fit into his theme of making castles. So that's really great. He got to travel, and yeah, that's right. Sinbad: The Fifth Voyage. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, yeah, Ray passed away. Although Ray was pretty old, so that's although it is sad, but Ray was he had a very busy life, very active. So here's a picture of Bruce with those glasses. That's kind of cool. And I believe this is Bickford's helper. I think his name is Nick. And this is the guy that's behind most of this. And he doesn't seem to try to take credit for helping out Bruce, but this he's kind of he did an amazing job helping him out. So hopefully he'll come out and give a statement. Next Gen says, Harryhausen is a big influence for me, and I will work with stop motion in the future. And Ron says, this is why I feel like Bruce Bickford. I am nearing the end of my life, and I have his passion for the raw, the real, and the non-digital. I've done my best. I hope people see it the same as Bruce's go. Well, Ron, I don't think you're that old, are you? I mean, unless you're, not doing well health-wise, I think you have a lot of projects left in you. So I wouldn't think like that. I wouldn't think too negatively. And Next Gen says there is still an untapped market for it. CGI just came in before stop motion, claymation could be fully realized. I mean, clay animation, it does have its limitations, that's for sure. There is only so much you can do with it, but that is to say, you can do anything with it at the same time. It's just that if you're a producer and you have a big budget and if you feel pressured not to waste it, and you're competing with Pixar and Disney, and even the smaller organizations out there, people just have a tendency to go with what they think will work and not take chances. And that's where I think if you know anything about the current state of like Netflix and Amazon, that's where a lot of independent artists are getting funded, and I think that's great. So like if you saw The Little Prince, or there's actually another one that's gonna come out on Netflix. Actually, let me do something real quick. I want to mention this one film to you guys so you can look for it before we end the show. Just give me 1 second. Facebook is really slow right now. Okay, let me get this back. So, this is a Netflix production, and it's called Rilakuma. But I'm not really sure. Is that the name of it? So it says the next stop motion, the Netflix stop motion animation. Yeah, Rilakuma and Kaoru is about the daily life of a young woman and her lazy roommate. The character Rilakuma means relaxing bear, and everyone thought it was, well, just a bear. In this show, apparently it's not. As the clip via Anime points out, Rilakuma is actually someone in a kigurumi onesie. God, my Japanese is horrible, but anyway, while Rilakuma's character design does have a zipper in the back, I never thought it was a real zipper that could be unzipped, allowing Rilakuma to remove its cozy hide. So you can see there's like a zipper. And anyway, so I don't know much about this. We have Netflix, so I'm probably going to look this up. Oh, page went blank there. But yeah, this is something that, if you guys are interested in, unique stop motion, the cool thing is Netflix is really supporting a lot of artists out there and buying up these, unique animations. So I think this is probably the future of stop motion for the next at least 5 years before competition causes problems for independent films like this, because eventually people are going to end up paying a lot more money for for Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and things like that for all these unique films. So there's actually I probably shouldn't go into that, but it's going to cause problems down the line for independents. But for now, those are the places that you can find that kind of unique stuff. Anyways, so it is past 9 o'clock, so that does conclude our show. And so hopefully you guys, learned a little something about a unique clay animator tonight and appreciate, what he's done. And yeah, we were just about done with the pictures anyway. So, but yeah, anyways, so Anamata says, bros, I got to go. Nice to see you. Okay, we'll catch you later. And sorry, Bruce passed, but he just transformed perhaps. Just as his animations. Have a good one. Yeah, take care. And Ron says, I got a great job that's coming up soon, but the business is dying. I've made very little money this year. The chat here is too short. Maybe I should do another interview episode here. Yeah, Ron, if you want to, that would be fine. Let me see. So next week we are going to do more on bad apples. So I'm going to work on that project for a bit. Just more stuff in Photoshop. But if you like, maybe in 2 weeks, if you want to, drop me a instant message on Facebook sometime before Wednesday, and just touch base with me and let me know if you're free still. I'd be happy to have you on. All right, so that does conclude our show for tonight, everybody, and I will see you next week. See you later.